Hey everyone, Once Bitten here. So I just came back from Grail Quest 2014. That is a tournament in Durham, North Carolina, part of our regional Masters circuit. Um, and it's 6 games, so I have 6 battle reports coming soon. So as I've done sometimes in the past, I want to do an introductory video, talk about my list, a little bit behind my reasoning for it, and that way when I make the battle reports, I can skip over that and just assume if you want to know my list, you can watch this video. So overall, that's what it looks like. The display board is like a really old one that was just blank, and I've always had it turned the 180 degrees from how it is now. And this time I had to turn it this way so I could fit on the castle. You've probably seen if you follow my channel. It's one I painted in painstaking detail for me, and I love the way it looks. So I thought I could use it for the tournament. So let's see, 72 players were signed up for it. I assume about that many actually showed up. Sometimes there's last minute cancellations. I want to say I thought there were 36 tables in play, so it was 72 players ish. 2,500 points. Swedish comp range 10 to 16, but you could bring up to 350 points in monsters from the Monstrous Arcanum or the Storm of Magic books. So really, the lists were tougher than a normal Swedish comp 10 to 16 would be. Most of the games were battle line. I know we had one meeting engagement. We had one where you break fortitude. Oh my gosh, blood and glory. The rest were all battle line. But before every game, they would randomly determine two scenario objectives that would give you extra bonus points. So it was a 0 to 20 scoring system with extra battle points, usually 4, sometimes 5 possible. So let's see. Since I thought there would be a lot of monsters there, and because and because Bretonia I think is does pretty well with Swedish comp, I thought I'd bring my Bretonians. I like how knights handle monsters. It's just they can just be hard to wound. I mean, they have they have a really good armor save, and then if the monsters are high strength, they have a 5 up ward save, and you can just tie them up. So I figure, I have the reach on people if they don't bring monsters, and if they have monsters on me, I can tie them up with knights. So I thought I'd go for that. So I ignored Knights Errant, Questing Knights, and Grail Knights, and just brought 3 relatively large blocks of Knights of the Realm. One I gave Flaming, one I gave +1 Leadership, and one I gave Movement. Now, I did not always put my general in the leadership one. I put him wherever I felt he was necessary, and sometimes used it to try to mislead my opponents during the deployment phase. So that's the backbone of my army right there, the 3 knight buses. I have my highly mobile units, so I have 3 peg knights, which I brought to get after war machines or to clear away chaff. I use them a lot during deployment as my first drop because I can vanguard them and then they can fly, so I could use them to as a very short delay tactic so my opponent doesn't know where I'm deploying. One weakness in this list is I have so few drops that sometimes if my opponent had a lot of drops, a lot of chaff, then I was fully deployed before he went, and that is a weakness of this list. One thing that did hurt me sometimes is I didn't bring even a musician with the Peg Knights, and sometimes they just needed a musician. So I brought the Great Bale Taurus. I think most people consider that the best the best monster from the available ones. So I said you could bring monsters from the Monstrous Arcanum or the Storm of Magic, but the tournament organizer, or actually the tournament creator, he actually played in it and had somebody else run the tournament. But anyway, he determined that some were just simply overpowered. So anything that affected them that could cast spells, he just banned, and there were some that he just felt were overpowered. So the Great Bale Taurus is probably the most overpowered of the ones that were allowed. If you saw my prep games, you noticed that I didn't use it. I was trying other things for the longest time. I finally used them, and I really like this guy. I gave him all 3 upgrades. So basically comes with, like 5 wounds, strength 6, toughness 6, 4 attacks, and he's got every model in base contact has to take a automatic strength 4 hit, and because of an errata on it, if you wound him with anything other than a magical attack, you have to re-roll it. So that was really nice. So if anything strength 4 or less has to roll a 6 to wound, and they have to re-roll successful ones. It's just really hard to get wounds through. I gave him all 3 upgrades, so I gave him Frenzy and Hatred. Now I know that Frenzy has its risks, and this guy's only leadership 6, so if he's not near the general, that can be very, very problematic. But what I liked about it was, combined with my second one, so I gave him an extra attack. I gave him a tail attack. So now instead of 4 attacks, he gets 6 attacks, 1 for the tail and 1 for Frenzy. And then with Frenzy comes Hatred, so now not just 6 attacks at weapon skill 5, but 6 attacks re-rolling on the first round of combat. So I really like that. And then I gave him a 4+ armor save just so I would have a chance against just a million poison shots or something. So very happy with him. I brought 2 trebuchets. I wasn't going to bring them on my list, but my comp was so soft that there was plenty of room for it, and I figured that would be nice, so I brought 2 trebs. And then I've got my Lord level characters. So the Lord General, that is very close to the build that I always give him. There are some things. I've been dropping the Tress of Isolde lately, but I love the Heartwood Lance combined with the Heroic Killing Blow, Virtue of Confidence. I absolutely love that combination. The Dragon Helm gives a 2+ ward versus flaming attacks, and that was great because we all expected to have a lot of Great Bale Tauruses out there. And Lore of Fire, whatever the Chaos Demons thing is. So I really like that. So he's got a 1-up armor save with a single reroll. I gave him the Potion of Speed so that if I went up against an elf or something where I would get killed before I got to strike, I had that. And so I felt that he could really mess with my opponent psychologically. Plus, if I went against a list with lots of monsters, he's the best thing I have going for me. Just go around chopping heads. I have a level 4 Lore of Heavens. I've rarely used Heavens in my Bretonnian list, and I am now such a huge fan of it because my biggest fear are miscasts, and Lore of Heavens, I'm just 2 dice and 3 dice and things. Nothing is worth a miscast. I want to say the whole tournament, I think I miscast twice out of 6 games, so really can't complain about that. Obviously, I gave her a scroll, and I gave her the Falcon Horn, so that means 1 turn only, your opponent cannot fly. And the only danger of that is that you have to do it at the beginning of your turn, so you have to be looking ahead a little bit. But in a meta where there's going to be a lot of monsters, many of which can fly, I thought that would be helpful. And not just monsters, sometimes redirectors, harpies or eagles or something like that. And then I bought 3 paladins. In a lot of my practice games, I had 4 paladins. I dropped one. One, I don't know why I didn't drop it, but the Gauntlet of the Duel one, the one on the right, that's my Karl Franz model that I use when he's on horse for my Empire army. I guess he's really good for pulling out a Slann or pulling out level 2s. They can't hide or something like that. But for the most part, he's just really not worth his extra points. I'd rather just keep him cheap or give him something else if I did it in the future. My BSB is a 1-up rerollable armor save. I didn't give him anything else. I just want him to survive. And then I've got my Paladin with the Virtue of the Impetuous Knight, which gives him and his unit plus D6 on the first turn they charge, which is awesome when combined with movement 8 and the swiftness banners, so they're movement 9. They can charge really far. And again, it's not so much that they complete the charge and win the game, but the psychological mess with your mind that he and that unit does to people, I just absolutely loved. So my goals. I always hope to win the tournament, but I'm learning that with so many players and so many good players, you just set yourself up for disappointment a lot since I've never won a grand tournament. So I've decided for this one anyway that the goal was to score high enough that I would qualify for the qualifier tournament for the Mid-Atlantic. So in our region, anybody who wins a grand tournament, and they have, by the way, they have to attend 3 regional grand tournaments to qualify. But if you attend 3 and you win one of them, you have an automatic invite to represent our region at the national Masters tournament, which is in February. So that's 5 people from our region. But we can bring more than that to the tournament. So what we're doing, I think we can bring 10 total, is that we invited 10 people to a qualifier event, and the top 5 out of that 10 go to the national event to represent our region. So I knew that I was borderline. I think that going into the tournament, I was qualifying, but just barely, I think. And but of course, if I do poorly at the tournament and other people do well, basically you could use your top 3 tournaments from the year, and I had done well enough. But if I could shore up my position, that would be great. So that was my goal. So in hindsight, you can see my matchups: ogres, dark elves, chaos dwarfs, warriors of chaos, ogres, and ogres. I played a lot of ogres. So yeah, I'll start working on the battle reports tonight. I'm hoping to get one up every couple days until they're all up. Hope you enjoy them.